We all carry these identities around with us. But what if some of those identities, the very labels we use to define who we are actually, well, weighing us down? Let's unpack that idea and figure out how we can all travel a little lighter. Seriously, think about it for a second. Why do you feel that little sting, that personal jab, when someone makes fun of your political party, your company, or even your favorite band? It's just an idea, right? So why does it feel so personal, like someone just took a swing directly at you? It's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the heart of how we build our sense of self. So here's the big idea for today, the metaphor we're going to run with. Our identities are like luggage. We pack these bags, we haul them everywhere we go, and sometimes we're holding on so tight that we don't have any hands free for new ideas or for other people. All right, let's dive into our first section, your identity as luggage. We're going to look at the actual science behind taking it personally, because believe it or not, there's a very real psychological reason for that feeling. And understanding it, that's the first step to finally being able to put those bags down. Okay, so there's actually a name for this phenomenon. It's a term from social psychology called identity fusion. This is what happens when the line between your personal self, who you are as an individual, and your social self, the groups you belong to, just completely vanishes. You don't just support the team anymore, you are the team. Their identity becomes your identity. And this is where you can really see the difference. When you have a separate sense of self, an attack on an idea is, well, it's just a debate. But when your identity is fused with that idea, that same attack feels like a threat to your very survival. Your brain literally registers it that way. You end up with no free hands to pick up new ideas because you're too busy gripping the luggage you already have. And you can probably see where this is going, right? This fusion, it leads to a trap. We start carrying these heavy labels around, thinking they're protecting us. But in reality, a lot of the time, they just end up isolating us. Let's break down a few of the heaviest ones we tend to carry. Okay, so let's look at how this actually shows up in real life. If you're the founder, you feel like you can never admit you're struggling. That means you only connect with people over their success, not your shared humanity. If you're the smart one, you're so terrified of asking a quote-unquote stupid question that you just stop learning. And the introvert, this is a big one. You might use that label as a shield to avoid the discomfort of growth, telling yourself, oh, I don't do that, instead of the much more powerful, I'm learning how to. Seriously, just pause for a second. Do any of these sound familiar? Maybe it's one of these, or maybe for you, it's the creative, the reliable one, or the tough guy. We all have them. The first step is just getting honest about which bags you're actually carrying. Okay, so we've sort of diagnosed the problem. Now let's talk about the solution. There is a beautifully simple little mental tool you can use to start unlocking yourself from these fused identities. It's called the outsider test. And here's how it works. It's super simple, just 2 steps. First, the setup. Picture yourself in a situation where you're feeling really defensive. You're clinging to a project or a belief or some title, and you can feel that resistance to letting it go. Now, once you're in that mindset, you ask yourself one single crucial question. And here it is. This is the magic question. It is so powerful because an outsider, well, they don't have your ego, your history, or all that baggage we've been talking about. They would just look at the cold, hard facts. They wouldn't feel shame about changing a business strategy. They just see it as a math problem. This question gives you permission to see your own situation with that exact same clarity. So what's actually happening in your brain when you do this? Well, there's a name for that too. It's called cognitive decoupling. It's the simple but profound act of separating you from the thing. Your identity is not your failing project. Your ego is not your outdated belief. This lets you analyze your own situation with total objectivity, as if you were just looking at data on a screen. Now, hold on. The goal here isn't to get rid of your identity altogether. Not at all. It's about building a better, more flexible one. And that brings us to our next big idea, becoming a scout. This is all about making a shift from what you might call a soldier mindset to a scout mindset. And the difference is huge. Think about it. A soldier's whole goal is to defend their position. Their pride comes from being right. But a scout's goal is to see the terrain as clearly as possible. Their pride comes from updating the map. So for a scout, someone disagreeing with them isn't a threat. It's just new information. It's a clue. And this leads to what I think is the ultimate power move. In any group that truly values learning, the highest status doesn't go to the person who's always right.
It goes to the person who has the courage and the honesty to say this out loud. It's a massive sign of strength, not weakness.
All right, let's make this super practical. We're going to wrap up with a simple exercise you can do the moment this is over. It's time to check your own bags. It's a simple 3-step check. First, just list the 3 main labels you tend to use to introduce yourself. Then, for each one, ask yourself this question and be honest. Does this label keep me safe or does it keep me separate? And finally, the most important part, the drop. You're going to write down one single sentence that you are now allowed to say that totally violates that old label. And here are a couple of powerful examples of what that might look like. If your label is the expert, you give yourself permission to say, you know what, I actually don't know how that works. If you're the tough guy, you are now allowed to say, my feelings were hurt by that. Just giving yourself that permission, that is a radical act. So as we close out, I'll just leave you with this one thought. Take a good, hard look at all those bags you've been carrying around. The job titles, the personality types, the roles you play for other people. Which one feels the heaviest? What single piece of luggage are you ready to set down right now, today?